Welcome back to another episode of Life with Lamb. Today I'm here with Ben Hargreaves, or Life Through Optics. How you going, man?
Yeah, doing really well, man. Thanks so much for having me on. Seriously, appreciate it.
Appreciate it too. We've only just met today, which is really exciting, and I think it shows the wonders of like social media and how small the world is and how interconnected it is today. So
100%, dude.
Appreciate your time and can't wait to unpack your story. And I guess we'll jump right in.
Yep.
What do you do for the listeners and even myself, like on a day-to-day basis? Who are you, Ben?
Okay, perfect. So yeah, as you said, I'm Ben Hargreaves. So my day-to-day life is pretty hectic, pretty busy, but as I'm sure a lot of us have very hectic, busy lives, it's the 21st century after all. But basically, my life at the moment is really living and breathing photography and content creation. But I know for myself and for many other people, it's not actually my full-time gig yet. You know, it's something that I'm working really, really hard to do. But I'm still working full-time as a project manager and industrial designer. So that's my day job. And it's something that I've been doing for the last 5 years with the company that I'm currently at. And it's been really good. I've learnt heaps. I've been able to pick up a whole heap of skills and all that sort of stuff. But I wanted something more. And I felt like there was this hole in my life for quite some time. And I wasn't 100% sure what it was. And it turns out that it was this photography, content creation sort of thing, you know? And I think we were talking about earlier that, you know, we've both of us, we've been in and around content creation for many, many years. You actually actioned it much faster than I did. You know, I've waited until I was 29, now I'm 30, to actually decide to action some content creation goals or some aspirations that I had when I was a kid. But man, it's always been in the back of my mind for so many years, but I definitely went down a very conventional route. You know, I went to uni, I studied at RMIT down here in Melbourne, did my bachelor's degree in industrial design. And then while I was still finishing my final year, I picked up the job that I'm currently in right now. So it was really just almost, it was so fast paced and so rushed that I was just like, all right, finished high school, straight into uni, no gap year, no time to think. Then boom, before you even finish uni, straight into the job. And now here you are, you know? So that's where I'm at currently.
And I feel like for the listeners who've been tuning in for a very long time, you can see like why I've got Ben on the podcast today. Like that narrative there that you just finished on is just something that everyone is facing right now. And 100%. I think it's such a prevalent issue that needs to be talked about. And like, again, appreciate you popping on, but like talk to us about, you know, your day-to-day job and actually, no, talk to us about Life Through Optics. Like
sure.
I want you to picture some of the context or, you know, like the numbers that we're looking at for the listeners to sort of get a picture of.
Okay, sure. So Life Through Optics came about at the start of 2022. So that's when I was just starting out with my photography journey. So March 2022, I actually started photography. Before that, I hadn't done any photography, but I found that I had this kind of natural affinity and potentially natural eye for it. So for years, you know, predating that conscious decision to start in 2022, I was always floating in and around photography and creating content. I would take photos of my friends. I would take photos of the activities we were doing, but always on my phone. But then, 2022 rolls around and I got sick and tired of basically me packing photography back into a metaphorical box, sliding it under my metaphorical bed for another year, you know, because for a few years, I would work my day-to-day job as, you know, as a designer. But then during my Christmas and New Year break for holidays, I would unpack photography, start to really enjoy it and go, hey, I want to, hey, I really want to, you know, start creating content consistently, posting on Instagram, all of that sort of stuff, just to document my life. And then again, at the start of the work year, I would just park it and just forget about it for 12 more months. So yeah, man, that's really why it's called Life Through Optics as well, is because initially it was just supposed to be my life through the optics of my camera. So that's where the name comes about. And I was also really inspired by two of my favorite creators, Optical Wonder and Seen Through Glass, who's an automotive YouTuber out of the UK. So yeah, it started up March 2022. I started trying to post as much as I possibly could, getting out and shooting as much as I possibly could. So almost every single weekend, just going out and taking photos. It initially started off with me trying street photography, car photography, portrait photography, all sorts of different stuff, landscape, and really trying to find out what I liked in this area of photography, because there's so many different avenues you can pursue. And basically I settled on car photography after probably 6 months of trying a whole heap of different stuff. Because like the reason why is because I have a massive passion for cars, but also I found myself going out and taking those photos, doing street photography and stuff like that, and just feeling quite awkward, feeling quite unusual being out there on the street taking photos of strangers. And then not only that, I would come home and I then wouldn't want to sit down and edit those photos. Like there was a bit of a disconnect between me taking the photos and then being excited to get home and edit them and then post them. Whereas when I shot cars, man, it was like something just lit my soul on fire. And I took those photos and I would run home and they were like straight off the SD card onto my laptop, straight into Lightroom and literally editing them all that night. And I was like, this just feels right. This just makes sense. So after about 6 months, I got really specific into car photography. I absolutely just sent it because prior to that, I was like, oh, I can't find enough cars to shoot. I can't get enough access to be able to post only car photography. But I just was like, screw it. Like, I'm so sick of my own excuses. Like, let's just send it and see what happens. So I would walk into car dealerships. I would attend car meets. Anything I could do to get in and around cars, that's what I did, you know? And I know a lot of people out there, they have the same feeling. And I can remember so vividly how hard it was and what it felt like when I first started. And I think that's why I'm able to connect with my audience. So yeah, man, after, again, another few months, I started basically dedicating myself to posting twice a day, every single day. So one short form video and one image carousel every single day. I've been doing that now since October last year and just smashing it.
And what sort of numbers are we talking about?
So basically the numbers we're talking about right now is I'm currently on 275,000 followers on Instagram. I'm on about 118,000 on TikTok, and I'm on about 23,000 subscribers on YouTube. So yeah, man, it's grown exponentially than what I could ever have imagined.
No, that's beautiful. And I'm so excited to unpack everything since like day dot as well.
Yeah.
And I remember you talking about like the hole that you felt when you were working your full-time gig and everything and how fast paced it is to, you know, get into that role, get into that job, start working. Yeah. And then it's like, but what am I missing? You know, like I haven't had a chance.
The societal pressure is insane.
Exactly. I haven't had a chance to like look within and actually sit down with my thoughts and see like, what do I actually want to do? Or have I been sold this narrative that this is what you should do because it's like, it's secure, it makes you money.
Secure.
Secure, quote unquote.
You can be liquidated at any moment.
Exactly.
People need to realize that.
100%.
You know?
And you talk about how photography is this recent phenomenon that you've stumbled across. I want to date back to when you were a kid. Like, what were you like and what were the sort of conversations you had leading up to your career choices?
Yeah, sure. So I've always been a pretty creative person. I've always been a person that's loved to draw. I also love kind of musical instruments. I love video games. I used to read a lot, which is I think where my imagination comes from, which has really assisted me with my design career. I don't read so much anymore because the good old scrolling through TikTok is just too attractive, as I'm sure for many out there, they can relate. So yeah, man, but that's kind of where it all started with this creative aspect about who I was as a person. And then throughout my schooling, you know, lots of people, they tend to lose that along the way. You know, we're all creative when we're kids. We're all just exploring and learning about new things and learning about the world and what we like and what we don't like. But throughout my schooling, I managed to kind of retain that kind of creative aspect about my personality. So by the time I got to year 12, it was a conversation with my parents of how can I make money doing something creative, you know, really flexing my creative passion.
I do want to jump in there, and I feel like a lot of creatives are looked down upon because it's like, oh, you're not good at maths or you're not good at English or something like that, or the academia side of things. And I think there's this huge stigma surrounding people who are like into instruments or photography or drawing and art. And those are such admirable things, but I think it just gets stomped down by like societal expectations.
100%. It gets quashed. And it's a real shame because think about how many fantastic creatives are out there and they never explored it and they're now 40, 50 and it's sitting within themselves just locked away as they do their corporate jobs.
That imagery was crazy.
Yeah, like it's such a scary thought that some of the potential greatest creatives ever never pursued it. you know, so that scares me. And that's why I feel like I have a duty to do that with myself, to explore it at least once and give it a try. And if it doesn't work, guess what? The resume is still there. The experience is still there. I will just go back and get my job again.
I have tingles
You
literally
know?
listening to that. Like, that is beautiful. And like, I think we're just so, I don't know, like programmed into and wired into this thing of like, oh, but I don't want to go out because what if I fail?
Yeah.
What if I don't succeed?
Yeah.
And it's like, we're so privileged.
Mm.
We're so privileged to live in this world and grow up with technology and be able to find jobs pretty easily, I would say.
Yeah.
So it's just like we're risk averse.
Yeah, very.
Very risk averse. And like, it just lights me up hearing you talk about all that stuff, man. So
well, dude, it's so hard. And I know how many people are suffering out there, because I get DMs, you know, hundreds of DMs on a daily basis. And the process of blowing up on social media actually lifted the veil just on how much people are struggling out there. And in the first few weeks of blowing up and seeing all that sort of stuff, I was feeling very down, because I was like, wow, there is so much suffering out there. There's so many people that want to pursue their goals and their dreams, but for whatever reason, they feel like they can't, or they're putting barriers in their way. And yeah, for me, it's more about just getting out there and seeing what you can do. And just while you're young, you know, just sending it, you know, the risk is much lower than what we're perceived.
100%.
And what
you don't
it's
have a
perceived.
mortgage, kids,
Exactly.
a roof to put over your head
And
everything.
like, the biggest thing for me, and the reason why I'm stepping out of this secure, quote unquote, corporate job that has really looked after me and is currently, you know, I'm earning over 6 figures a year, just from this corporate job. So I'm stepping out into the wide world all by myself, the unknown. But for me, there's a quote that I absolutely love, and it's the fear of, I need to try and get this right. So it's the fear of staying the same outweighs the fear of change. So like, I am more scared of staying in my corporate job and doing that for the next 10, 20 years than I am of throwing it all away and going and doing my own thing and trying to be the version of myself that I see so vividly in my head.
Definitely.
You know?
What was that conversation like with your parents at the end of year 12? You've obviously had to sit through all your end of year exams and grab the score that you needed to get into university.
Yeah.
How were your parents in this whole process? And yeah, what was that sort of conversation like?
Well, man, like, my parents are always incredibly supportive of me, regardless of what I do. So my mum always says, just be the best you can be. Like, I don't care what you do, just be the best. You know, and she also told me, like, failure is not an option, which I know sounds really, really bad, and it can be quite constraining and cause you to not take risks, but it's important that you perceive it correctly. So for me, it means that no matter what I try, failure is not an option. I will never stop until I succeed, you know? And that's what I'm really finding with my photography journey at the moment is all I have to do is keep going and never stop. And I know that I'm going to be doing this for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, potentially. I could be a 70-year-old still taking photos of cars. So if I keep doing it for that length of time, how could I possibly fail? You know, so that's really what it's all about for me when she says, like, failure is not an option. It's about just staying around longer than everyone else. That's it.
I love that perception quote as well. It's like, yes, you could think that failure is not an option and then take this risk averse approach to it where it's like, well, I shouldn't try anything because then I'll fail because it's not an option. But the fact that you've pitched it in this way where you can look at it and say, well, I've got all this time to go. Yeah. Of course I'm not going to fail yet.
How could I?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, if we commit to something for the next 10 years, how can we fail it? It's impossible. Like, if we just keep going. And like, there's another quote that I absolutely love, which is ordinary actions for an extraordinary length of time. And that's literally what it's all about. So for you with the podcast, your ordinary actions are getting guests on, getting set up, posting short form content, posting long form. For me, ordinary actions are going out to car events or shoots every single weekend, taking photos, coming home, sitting there every single night after I finish work and after I go to the gym and I get home at like 8 p.m. and I just edit from 8 p.m. to midnight. That for me is like those ordinary actions, and you compound that over an extraordinary length of time, 10 years, 20 years, and how can you not win, man? Like, come on.
I love it.
You know?
I love it so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Like
awesome.
you put it like that. Like how can you not win?
That is beautiful. Oh my gosh. Just need to pause a little bit.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so you talk to your parents and you've entered uni.
Yep.
Was this like a negotiation thing, or like did you see uni as a pathway from the get-go?
Well, for myself and for a lot of people out there, university for our generation was the only option. It's like, hey, you're going to finish school and you're going to go to uni because that's just what we do. So that's really why I went, because I was really I was locked into that system, you know, which I've spent the last, few years trying to break myself out of. So yeah, the conversation when I was moving from high school to uni was really like, okay, what do I want to do? Okay, I'm a creative guy. How can I get paid to be creative without doing a Bachelor of Fine Arts, and majoring in drawing or painting or something? So my parents actually went away and they found industrial design as a profession, and they sent me, like, I remember going on Google Images and finding a whole heap of sketches that product designers and industrial designers do. And I saw those for the first time when I was 17, and I was like, that's what I want to do with my life right there. I was like, oh my God, these drawings are amazing. I just want to do that 8 hours a day. And they were really, really supportive of that, so much so that I grew up in Brisbane, and they actually really pushed me and encouraged me to relocate to Melbourne to study at RMIT, because at that time, this was like kind of 2010, 2011, RMIT was really seen in Australia as the best design institution to go to. So yeah, man, uprooted myself. Literally, I finished high school on the Friday, and by the Sunday, I was in Melbourne. Like,
wow.
I'd moved.
It's quick turnover.
Yeah, so really quick. And I haven't looked back since, man. So then I did a diploma in product design, because you mentioned before getting the scores. I didn't get the scores. I was like a thoroughly mediocre student. But I managed to do a diploma in product design and then bridge across into the bachelor's degree in industrial design, and then did that and wrapped it up in 2018. So yeah.
And talk to us about this empty void that you felt throughout uni. Me personally, like, I'm feeling it a lot, and your heart is just not in it, and this is what causes that emptiness and that longing to just find something that's a little bit different that you want to do. Like something is missing. You can feel it.
100%.
And you see the people around you getting into these grad jobs and really thriving, and that's fine. Like that is totally fine for them. But for myself, and this is why I do the podcast, like, I'm longing for something else.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a bit about what it was like for you, and what were those feelings? How were you combating those feelings?
I don't know if I was combating them, to be honest. Like, my university experience was thoroughly terrible. Like, if I'm being brutally honest right now, like, when I went into the diploma of product design, that was honestly the best time at my throughout my uni career. It was a super practical diploma, and it was 2 years, and it literally taught me everything I needed to know to be the most powerful designer I possibly could. So all about sketching, all about 3D modeling, all about hand rendering and digital rendering, even down to how to, like, start your own design freelance business. There was all of that encapsulated inside this 2-year diploma. And then through, societal pressures and needing to have a piece of paper and blah, 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 I was like, oh, you know what? I've finished the diploma. I probably should go and do the degree now. And obviously, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but that feeling of emptiness and going, I don't really know what I want to do. So, hey, I'm just going to go study because that's what everyone else is doing. So yeah, dude, I started the bachelor's, and fortunately I got like a year knocked off because of recognition of prior learning from the diploma. But once I got into the bachelor, it took me 6 months, and I realized I'd made a massive mistake. Right. It was so theoretical. I literally, over the course of my degree, my design skills were actually drastically diminishing. They were going down super, super fast. My lecturers were all, and I put this on my final year survey that they send out to students to fill in. I said, all the lecturers are pencil pushing PhDs with no industry experience, which is 100% the case, So my skills were lacking. I got no mutual respect from my lecturers. So they were treating me like I was a subhuman and my time didn't matter, and that they were so much more important and just levels above me. And that's really what came down to it when it was my university experience. So by the time I was through, not only was I burnt out on design, I was like, I don't even want to do this anymore.
Definitely, man. And I can totally relate with that. And lecturers,
Yeah.
it's like a clock in, clock out sort of
100%.
situation. They come in, talk at you, talk down at you almost.
Talk down.
And you're treated like a number,
Yep.
as if you should know this already. Like, how could you not know this?
Yeah.
Expected to, do assignments on it, essays,
Yeah.
or quizzes on it. And then when you ask for help and guidance, it's not there as well. It's like, well, you've been taught.
Yeah, it depends who it is, but there is a lot of that of, I taught you this, so you should know it, sort of thing.
100%.
And I'm like, bitch, I'm the customer. Like, I don't know if I should be swearing on this podcast.
Man. It's all good.
So man, it was pretty confronting, and yeah, totally burnt out. And fortunately and unfortunately, I managed to land my current job while I was still doing my final year. And I found myself being really underprepared and underskilled for that role.
Yep. Definitely.
So I got spat out of a flawed university system that just billed me an arm and a leg to be there, treated me like crap. And then I found myself in the workforce not knowing how to do anything and apologizing to my supervisors going, I'm so sorry, I'm so slow.
Yeah.
If I'd have come to you after I finished the diploma, I would have been so much better at this.
Definitely, because you're already tapped out at that point.
Yeah.
You're so far dissociated from it. And I'm actually really scared for like my cohort as well. Like graduated in the 2020 COVID year and then going through 2 years of COVID at uni, didn't get the full uni experience. And then third year, you're graduating. You're just like, where have I had the opportunity to learn?
That's really tough. And like in my current role as well, I do the design side of things, but I also run a lot of internship programs with students, and also I also lecture into a couple of units as well. So because I work at a university, that's where the design hub is based out of that I work with, and that's honestly the reason why I've been able to stick at my job for so long, is because of working with students and realizing that I can actually have a positive impact on people. I can make sure that when people come into my class or when people interact with me on an internship, that I can right the wrongs that were written into me when I was a student by my lecturers.
Yeah.
So I'm making sure I treat them as equals, if not superiors. Yes, sir. No, sir. 3 bags full, sir. You are the customer. I will help you to the utmost of my ability and help you get through this thing. And we're going to do this together because you and I were a team.
Yeah. And it's that team aspect that we're thoroughly missing at the university environment. Man, could go on a lot about
for sure. But man, it was, and then from there, because I loved teaching and loved helping people and loved making sure people never felt the way that I feel, it was a very natural progression into what I do at Life Through Optics, which is teaching people, educating people, building them up, motivating, trying to be a good role model and a source of inspiration for them on their photography and content creation journeys. Like, it really bridges the gap between what I do in my day job by doing some lecturing, but also even when I was studying, man, like people would come to me and be like, oh, Ben, you seem to get the hang of doing the sketches or doing this 3D CAD stuff. Can you teach me? And I was like, sure, no worries. And then like my girlfriend, now fiance, she was like, at the time, she's like, will you stop helping people? Like, you've got to do your own work, because we're in class together. That's where we met at uni, and we're in class together. And like, there was a queue of people just coming to like talk to me or like crowding around me while I was like, okay, listen up. Like, here's how we do it. Boom, boom. You click this, you do that. Boom. And like, meanwhile, the lecturer's just up the front. I'm just like, be silent, lecturer. Like,
I'm lecturing.
No one likes you anyway. Like, guys, gather around.
Here, gather around. I love it.
Yeah.
But it takes like you being able to put out all your knowledge and not having the expectation of like take. Like give out your knowledge, give out your wisdom, or like emotional I don't know, company and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So that in turn it comes back. And 100%. I'm like a big believer in karma in terms of those sorts of aspects and like relationships where it's like you could be a dick.
Yep.
Right now, but it will come full circle.
It'll get you.
It will come back.
It'll get you. Yeah. Whereas like versus the opposite of that, which is what I try and do, is I literally just give with zero expectation of anything in return. And do things come back in return? Yes. But like literally I will go and do free photo shoots for people and just send them the photos and be like, hey, it was so awesome to meet you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to take photos of your car. Look forward to seeing you next time. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, do you want to do another shoot in the future and you can pay me this time? Like, no. There's just like, look forward to seeing you in the future. And then they send me a message and they're like, Ben, oh my God, these photos are unreal. Like, let's do some more work together in the future. And actually, I know 5 to 10 other people that want the same thing done, and we're going to make sure we get you paid. And I'm like, wow. You know, so every single interaction that I go into, there always is zero expectations, and there is always the utmost care to give that individual mutual respect and mutual admiration, and make sure everything that we're doing together is of mutual benefit to the both of us.
100%. The one pet peeve that I have is a transactional relationship. I cannot stand them at all.
Yeah.
And you cannot go about life thinking that, you know, oh, I did this, so you should give it back to me, sort of thing. Like, you cannot go about life in that way, and you will burn so many bridges by doing that.
Yeah, you can't keep a track of what people owe you.
Yeah, there's no way.
Just let it go.
Exactly.
Just move it on. Give out more than you receive, and I promise that's the best track.
Definitely, man.
To go down.
So what has kept you in this full-time gig as well? I feel like from what I'm hearing, it's like you only stumbled across photography last year.
Yep.
So would you say this full-time gig has been sort of like a stalling phase in terms of finding what you truly love doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really, really tough, especially over the last 6 months, to keep my head in this full-time gig and go, you know, I need to just stick this out for a little while longer and keep doing my best. But what's kept me in is obviously being able to work with students and teach them and have a positive impact on them and change their career pathways. That's something I always love to hear back from students that I work with is, you know, you have completely changed my career pathway and what I was thinking I wanted to do. So that's really kept me in, but also my team. Like, my team at work, they are just legends. Like, we just get on so well. We work so well. We're such a small crew. Like, there's only 5 of us, and we're doing like big money with like big clients, you know, like big multinational brands that we work with. So that's the other thing. So, and then the other thing is I resigned myself when I started this photography journey in March 2022 to the fact that I'd probably have to do it for the next 5 years before I could actually make a full go of this photography thing. And that was totally okay by me. You know, so many people, they're after short-term ways of making it happen. But for me, I was like 5 to 10 years. Like, by the time I'm 35, I'll be doing photography full-time. And it's almost like what we talked about before, where you set your expectations so low. I have now smashed those expectations, you know, and I'm sure we'll get into in a moment the whole process of me blowing up on social media this year. That has allowed me to basically bring my time frame forward so much. And now I'm staring down the barrel of leaving my full-time job at the end of this year, which just, it scares the crap out of me, but it's also so unbelievably exciting.
Yeah.
But I have to bed down and do my day job for the rest of this year to stay true to my value set and to look after my team and to not leave them in the lurch mid-year, so that I can go off and pursue my goals. Because, like with everything, dude, I'm not in a rush. Like, why do I need to rush? Like, I'm going to be doing this for the next 30 years. Why do I need to rush and do this and do that and potentially burn bridges and potentially annoy people and potentially, you know, step on people's toes? Like, we don't need to rush. Just take your time. Slow, methodical process over days, weeks, months, years. And that's what it takes. So that's where I'm at right now.
Love it. Talk to us about finding your passion.
Yep.
You've stumbled across photography and you've finally found this thing that's like filled this void that you've held for so long.
Yeah.
For so many years. You've been working away, you know, doing your academia like every other person, you know. What's it like? What does it feel like?
It feels awesome to be able to like find your passion and realize what you wanted to do. And and to realize what I wanted to do with myself after not knowing or figuring out that design was what I wanted to do, but then having that kind of change midway through, which was pretty tough. Like, that was pretty tough to realize, because when I was 17, looking at those product design sketches, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is awesome. But then over the last few years, that's changed. But part and parcel because of the job that I'm doing, but also my pathway through university stripped the passion out of me. So I think for everyone out there, what is most important if you are passionate about something, you just need to go out and do it, like, as fast as you possibly can. Like, remove as many barriers as you can and just get to doing that thing that you're passionate about fast. You don't need to know everything. Like, I'm certainly by no means the best photographer. I don't have the most experience. I've only been doing it for 1 year and 3 months. But like, that doesn't matter because I'm passionate about it and I want to make it my thing. So like, I'm just gonna send it, you know?
Yeah, and it's about sending it. And
Yeah.
obviously touching back on the topic of you're young, you know, you're
Yeah.
still young and you've actually got all this time.
For sure. And
well.
yeah, so then I guess the way that I found photography was by trying a whole heap of different things. So if you're not sure about what you don't like or what you do like or where your passions are, you just have to start trying stuff.
That's it.
You know, so I tried a whole heap of different stuff. I tried what did I try?
You were saying like the street
street
photography.
but all sorts of different sorts of photography.
Yeah.
But before then I had a lot of hobbies and still do that I really enjoyed. And I'm always about trying to monetize your passions and things that you do in your spare time. You know, like when I started doing design, I actually did design projects in my spare time, you know, personally, like personal projects that I would work on. But again, over the course of university, I stopped doing that. And that's where this kind of disconnect started happening. But in my spare time, I would play guitar, I would play video games, I would, watch heaps of movies and watch Netflix and whatever, as we all do. But then I would also go out and take photos and I would really enjoy the process of documenting my life and my friends' lives as we went about and did things.
Yeah.
And get so much satisfaction from sharing that on social media afterwards. So that's really where it started to light this fire inside. And I was like, hey, I think I need to explore this a little more. But from the start of actually discovering that to then deciding to really give it a red hot crack, there was probably 5 years in between, maybe even 6 years of basically me just trying it out and then parking it for 12 months like I was just talking about before, where I would literally do my day job from January to December, and then during my Christmas and New Year holidays, I would pick photography back up. And it's almost like I was reverting back to my natural state during that time. So when the stresses of work got stripped away, I felt like I could finally be myself and be the person that I was supposed to be. But it was a constant battle for 4 to 5 years of me fighting with this corporate image of myself that society had forced me to build versus the person that I was actually supposed to be. So yeah, man, it took years and years of trial and error and going, okay, I'm going to start picking up more photography, learn more things, watch Peter McKinnon on YouTube, watch North Borders, blah, 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 you know, start shooting content on my phone. And then again, 3 years until I actually bought my first camera, which is the camera that I'm still using now. And then just learning all I could and just getting out there and doing it as much as I can.
Yeah, sometimes you see it right in front of you, like those sorts of things. So, you know, you've done your corporate job for the year, you've packed it all up and then picked up photography again. And then like that's lit you up. Like that has excited you. There's definitely a passion there. And then it's like, well, I'm going to go back to my corporate job again. Yeah,
well, I've run out of time now. So I just have to put that aside.
Exactly. So it's taken like a few tries for you to have something so close and right in front of you pretty much to realize like, hey, this is actually something that I can do.
It took me three years to realize that over that holiday period, I was reverting back to my natural state.
And you know, so many people would be so terrified of the fact that it took you 3 years because it's like, oh my God, like that's 3 years of my life gone.
Yeah.
Like, what have I done? Where's all the time gone?
Yeah.
But you sound like someone who's just like so screwed in terms of like you're comfortable with who you are.
Yeah.
You are so comfortable with who you are and like where your life is going to be moving towards. And that's probably it, you know, like we're looking so short term as well. And we need to be able to zoom out and look forward into the future. Like, is this sustainable? Me in this 9-to-5 job for X amount of years for the rest of my life? Like, I'm already hating it in day one.
Yeah.
You know, like, why would I want to live this mundane life?
Well, man, it has a shelf life, that sort of stuff. Like, it's going to wear you down eventually. But for some people, they battle through it and then they get to retirement age and they realize, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do anything now. But for so many people, they also need to realize that even past retirement age, you can still do it. Like, let's say you retire at 65, but you live to be 105. You got 40 more years. So why not pick up photography at 65 retirement age after you've spent your life, you know, being a corporate slave?
Yeah.
Sorry, I should use better language.
I know, definitely. I feel so bad because some people enjoy the simplicity of working a 9-to-5 and like 100%. Having the exterior things.
Full power to you if that's something you want to do.
Definitely.
But for me, the big change happened when I actually realized that I don't want anyone telling me what to do anymore. I'm done. So I want to wake up each day and my day is mine.
Yep.
No one else's.
How empowering.
I'm not selling it to someone else for a mediocre paycheck and them not giving a crap about me. I get to wake up and that's it. My day is mine. And I've already literally planned out my day for when I start going full time with content creation. Like, get up, hit the gym first up so that I'm in there and I'm just getting my training in. And then after that, I'm then diving into editing, shooting, you know, all of that sort of stuff, uploading my content. And that's what my days are going to be. And for some people, that's not what they want to do. And they want to do that 9 to 5 stuff. And that's totally fine. But what's important is you've left no stone unturned in the pursuit of realizing that that's what you want to do.
Yep, definitely. 100%,
You know?
100%. And it's like that empowerment as well, that you're able to feel empowered. And yes, you might like following a boss telling you what to do, and that's fine. But as long as your choice is there, then that's what matters.
Well, dude, I used to think for years that I wanted to just be an employee and just sit there and just be told what to do and do my thing and get my paycheck and go home and all that sort of stuff. But it's through meeting new people, you know, building up my friendships, and actually realizing through those friendships and how other people do things that I can learn so much from how other people do things and be inspired by those people to then try my own thing. So one of my best friends, we were actually sitting in bean bags in the guest room of my house. And this was probably a few years ago or a couple of years ago before I started Life Through Optics, before I started any of this. And he's an incredibly entrepreneurial guy and he's all about pursuing his passions and doing his thing. And we sat down in these bean bags and chatted for 2 hours. And over the course of that 2 hours, that's when I came to the realization that photography, video, content creation, being my own boss, being entrepreneurial, going out there and making my own money was actually what I wanted to do. And that was the whole turning point for me when I realized I'd been floating in and around photography for years and wanting to do something. Ever since I was a kid, I'd always wanted to be a YouTuber and always wanted to kind of find a way to do that. But I always thought, why the hell would people listen to me? And there's nothing special about me, so what would I do? But then coming full circle, sitting in these bean bags with my best mate and just chatting through how to be entrepreneurial and coming up with plans for the future. And that was like 2021. And then by the end of 2021, in between 2022, that's when I bought my camera. And that's when it kind of all started going. Like, I got so sick of my own like excuses that I would give myself, that I would feed myself about why I couldn't keep photography going while I was doing my day job and why I would park it and leave it for 12 months. And then 2022, man, I was like, this is never going away again. I refuse to put this away again. So I will just do everything I possibly can, everything in my power to make sure that photography becomes a massive part of my life because I love it.
We'll get into the imposter syndrome in a bit, but I want to touch back. I want to touch back on the monetization of like your hobbies and those sorts of things. Yeah. There's this conversation that I'm having with all these people that are in like my sort of circle about can you actually pursue your passion? Like, will it bring money into your life, or should you keep it on the side as a passion? Yeah. What is your stance on that? Because you sound like you can monetize your passion.
Dude, there's always a way. There's always a way, because what I realize as well is that there's always other people out there that want to do the things that you're doing. So if you're just showing up consistently and improving and building credentials and expertise in that space by using social media, it's only a matter of time before people start to ask you how you do things, why you do things, what are the things that you do each day to make sure that you can do those things. You know, like at the moment, I'm not making a huge amount of money through photography or content creation or paid shoots or anything like that, but I can still monetize it because I've built this expertise in this area. And once you can build expertise in one of your hobbies, then people will start to be interested. And if you can build up some sort of like digital product offering, which is what I'm really going down the route of, or you can start to go out and do more paid photo shoots or work with clients or something like that. There's always ways to monetize it, you know, and regardless of what you're into, like let's say for example, for me, I love to play the guitar, and let's say I wanted to monetize that hobby, it would be so easy to do. And numerous people have done it before. People that I follow, like Marty from Marty Music, who does all these tutorials on YouTube, that would be where I would start. I would make tutorials about how to learn songs and all that sort of stuff and help people and educate. And then from there, you could start to sell courses, like guitar courses. You could start to host live workshops, So there's always ways that you can make money. You don't have to be the best of the best of the best to make money, you know, through your passions and through your hobbies. There's always a way to monetize.
Yeah, and I think it's that perception of like the imposter syndrome, which leads quite nicely into it. It's like you don't have to be the top echelon of everyone. It's like as long as you are able to provide some sort of value towards some audience, that's all that matters.
100%. And like I would rather make $50,000 a year doing what I love than $100,000 a year doing something I hate. You know, and like what people need to realize and what people need to have is an abundance mindset. It's this thing where there is always a big enough slice of the pie for everyone, regardless. So for me to carve out a $50,000 a year, you know, photography content creation business as a tiny little slither of the pie, everyone can do that. Literally every single person can do that. If they turn around and go, hey, I want to do this and I want to absolutely give it my all, you can, there's always money there. There's always followers there. Like, think about it. You know, I follow a couple of thousand accounts on Instagram. I'm sure other people follow thousands of accounts as well. So for someone to see your content and press that follow button after they've already followed a couple of thousand other people, then, you know, that just goes to show that you can build an audience regardless of how saturated the market is. It's never too saturated, because one thing to always take into account is that no one can ever be you. So like, therefore, no one can ever be a direct competition to you, because literally you are the best version of, or you are the best person to be yourself. Like, you are the best person at being yourself. And that immediately is your unique, sustainable proposition in a very saturated market.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Seriously. So that's literally what I think about all the time. And when I started doing this in March 2022, I think in like January, Feb, I was like, why me? Like, why the hell would people listen to me? I'm looking at North Borders. I'm looking at Optical Wonder. I'm looking at Seventh Era, who are these big creators. And I'm just like, geez, these guys are amazing. Why the hell would anyone care about me? You know, like literally. But then after scrolling down, and what I love about these lads is they have left their journey very, very visible for others. So I scrolled down to the bottom of North Borders' YouTube channel, to the bottom of Optical Wonder's YouTube channel. And I started watching their early videos and their early content. And over the course of doing that, I actually realized, far out, like there's nothing special about these guys. Literally. And I say this all the time when people talk to me online. There is nothing special or unique about me. Nothing. So I would watch this content and I would realize, wow, I can do this. And the conversation, the mental battle changed from being why me to why not me. And that was like so unbelievably powerful when I had that mindset shift.
Yeah, and it's
why not me?
Yeah,
you know, like why can't I do this?
100%. And it's like that quote of comparison is the thief of joy as well.
Yeah.
Like, why compare yourself to people who've already established themselves when you can go and make that move yourself and make that
100%.
shift?
Yeah.
So would you say that was the crux of combating that imposter syndrome, or how are you finding the ways to navigate it?
Dude, I still have massive imposter syndrome. Like in January, I had 3,000 followers, you know, and in October when I really made a conscious effort to post twice a day, I had 500 followers. You know, in March last year, I had 125 followers, you know, so since January and going through and experiencing this enormous blow up, because again, it's like what we talked about before, you go into things expecting nothing in return, no expectations, and you provide value with no expectations of anything ever coming back in return. And over the course of doing that for months and months and months, and showing up and doing the hard things and doing the quiet work when no one gives a shit, no one's watching, you just head down and you're just doing the quiet work. When I had like 500 followers, you know, that all laddered up to me then blowing up in January. So I went from 3,000 followers to 100,000 followers in 6 days. Which was just insane. And that's why the imposter syndrome for me is so unbelievably prevalent still, because a year ago I had 125 followers and I didn't know how to use a camera, like legit. And now like a year and 3 months later, I have all of these followers, all of these people that look up to me and look towards me for guidance and for inspiration and for motivation. And the imposter syndrome is crippling. But it's about staying true to what I believe in and staying true to my values, and making sure that despite everything changing and my world just opening up so much more and the possibilities opening up so much more that I still stay true to what got me there in the first place. You know, and like when I blew up, I was reaching out to people for help. I was like, what the hell do I do? Like I woke up, basically I went to bed in like January with, I just hit 3K followers, and I was so excited to share it on my story the next morning and be like, yeah, we did it, you know, blah, 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 3K, yeah. I woke up with 8,000, and I went to sleep at 2:30 a.m. and woke up at 7:30 to go to work. So over the course of 5 hours, I got like 5,000 followers. Oh, yes. And then by the end of that first day, I got 15,000. So like I'm sitting there going, oh my God, what the hell's just happened to me? And I started thinking that I'd been hacked. So I was like in the chat to Instagram support going, hey, I think someone's just hacked my account, or someone's like trolling me. Someone's bought followers for me. And I had people in my DMs going, bro, what the hell? You just bought followers. And I'm like, I swear to God, I don't care that much about follower numbers to like part with my money to then buy them. So, dude, I was literally chatting to one of my mates, and he's like, you've been hacked. Like, contact Instagram support right now. And then before I did that, before I jumped on the line to Instagram support, I went over and I checked my video on TikTok as well, because all of this happened because one video went viral. I
was going to ask, yeah.
Like I totally accidentally made the best ad for my Instagram account possible. And it was me doing a photo shoot with a yellow R34 Skyline, and me and the owner were just chatting about what I do with my social media. And he was like, man, I didn't realize your Instagram was all about tutorials and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, man, I just want to help people get better. I just want to like share what I know and really just do my best to empower people to get into photography. And I showed like POV footage of me taking the photos and before and afters and stuff. And it was so funny because that night I was about to like give up like that night, because I'd been posting from October to January. I'd only seen like a little bit of an uptake. Like everything was really slow. I was worn out. I was tired, and I was really, really struggling. And I was literally going to be like, no, I'm not going to post today. Like I'm not going to make any content today. But I said a phrase to myself that I've been saying since the start, when again, I was doing the quiet work when no one cared. I said, this is when it counts. And that's something that is just burned into my brain. So whenever I feel tired, oh, I had a big day at work, I'm really sore from the gym and work sucked and I'm dealing with crap clients and blah, 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 and I've got too much on, this is when it counts. And that would flick a switch in my brain where I go, right, turn off all the crap, turn off all the noise, get upstairs to your desk and go and make some content. So I did it that night, and literally the video that I ended up putting together, it was rubbish. Like for me, like I only ever take my work up to 70% effort. I never take it to 100. I go 70%, move it on. And this video was just thrown together unbelievably quickly at like 1 a.m. in the morning because I hadn't had time to get to my content for that day. And that was it. That was the one thing. And now it's sitting at 4 million views. It went viral on both TikTok and Instagram at the same time. So not only was it blowing up on Instagram and causing a heap of people to follow, but because it mentioned Instagram in the video when I posted it on TikTok, it was throwing heaps of traffic from TikTok across to Instagram. And then that was just created this insane whirlpool of getting from 3K to 100K in 6 days, and then on to 180K within 14 days. And like my biggest day of followers was 32,000 in 1 day. 1 day. So that's why my imposter syndrome is so big, dude, because 6 months ago I was nothing. Like
this is a chat that I needed to have. Yeah. I'll just preface it as that, like that whole mentality switch of this is when it counts. Yeah. I needed to hear that. So I thank you a lot. But
no problem, dude.
It's so natural for you to feel that imposter syndrome, but from this whole conversation and everything we've discussed from this point on, like, or from that point on, like so much value has come out of this conversation. I can already feel like how many people would be listening about like what you've been able to do with yourself.
That's awesome,
and
dude.
You followed this narrative and then made a life for your own because you've identified this emptiness that you weren't being fulfilled at your full-time job, and you were burnt out from all the theory and something that you thought was your passion.
Yeah.
Leading up into it, and then you've found this passion and you've just gone full throttle with it, and like the rewards are paying off. And I think
it's crazy.
It's fine for you to feel this imposter syndrome, but honestly, man, your story has been incredible to listen to.
Thank you, dude.
I really do appreciate you hopping on. Where do you see life through optics heading?
So what's next for me is I obviously want to go full time at the end of the year. And the way that I'm going to continue to do that is by providing as much value to my audience as possible, interacting as much as I possibly can. You know, Gary Vee always says, scale the unscalable, like scaling unscalable behavior. And unscalable behavior in this case is replying to every comment, replying to every DM, you know, really being engaged and locked in with your audience. It's something that I'm not doing as much as I want to at the moment, but when I go full time, I'm going to be really putting a big focus on that, like 2 to 3 hours a day, replying to comments and DMs, legit. And I think it's incredibly important because so many people forget about the word social in social media. It's about people. It's not about you flexing and posting up your stuff. It is about the people, the numbers on the screen, and the people behind those numbers that have chosen to invest some of their time into you, and for me, in my case, with digital products, some of their hard-earned money into me as well to support me, and hopefully I can provide value back to them in the form of those products. So I'm going to be continuing to release more digital products. Eventually, I want to start a live photography workshop. You know, I've got a lot of experience through my day job about running, you know, I'm sure you know, lectures online during COVID. I ran multiple units and multiple internships programs online through COVID. So bringing my learnings and building a photography live workshop, live course, to really just continue to empower people to be the best they can. And then eventually starting to get more into the social media content creation strategy side of things and helping people in that way. But yeah, man, a lot of it's going to be more of the same, but just really, really building it out and just being able to do more of the same is what is so important to me.
I wish you all the best with it. Like, sounds so awesome, and I can't wait to follow your journey. I want to leave on one last question.
Yeah.
Would there be any advice you have for people who were in your situation, who were sort of not slaving away, but like chipping away at something that wasn't lighting them up? What sort of advice you have for these people, and what sort of mindset change needs to happen?
For sure. So the big mindset shift is realizing that you actually have way more time than you think you do to put towards your passions and your goals. So at the moment, my day is literally calendar blocked with getting ready for work, going to work, traveling to and from to the gym, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's literally blocked out from 7:30 a.m. all the way to like 1, 2 a.m. And if you take that approach when it comes to tackling your goals, then that's hugely, hugely beneficial. Being able to strip away all the noise, all the bullshit, and go, you know what, I'm not going to sit down and watch Netflix today. I'm literally going to just go upstairs for an hour and work towards progressing towards my goals, you know? And another big piece of advice is to get as clear as you possibly can on what your goals are. So many people don't even do that to start with. And like, I sat down when I had 2,000 followers and I wrote down some giant goals for myself for 2023 that I had no business writing when I had 2,000 followers. I wrote down, legit, no joke, it's in the notes pad of my phone, that by the end of 2023, I was going to have 500,000 Instagram followers, and I was going to have 100,000 YouTube followers, and I was going to have 500,000 TikTok followers. And I was at 2,000 writing this down. And then I stepped out how I'm going to do it. 730 pieces of short form content in 2023. 730. 24 YouTube videos through the course of 2023. You know, 4 new digital product launches over the course of 2023 and releasing a, you know, live workshop, you know, course type thing. So those were my massive, unattainable, totally far-reaching goals. And guess what? If I don't hit them, that's totally fine. But because they're so far-reaching and so advanced, I will get closer to those than I would have than if I just wrote more conservative stuff, if that makes sense. So everyone out there can start right now, regardless of what their passions are, their hobbies are. They can start by getting really, really clear on what they want to do and their goals. Yeah. And that would be my biggest recommendation, because once you have your goals, I don't believe in having dreams whatsoever. I think you need to turn a dream into a goal as fast as you possibly can, and the way to do that is by sitting down and writing about it.
And not limiting yourself with a ceiling, and
Yeah.
getting so clear that you can hit that
Yeah.
ceiling at some point.
You need to write the most like outrageous goals you possibly can.
Yeah.
You know, literally, just write down whatever you think, whatever you feel like is the most outrageous thing. Write it down, and then the most important thing then is to step out how you're going to do it. So if I post 730 pieces of content this year, how could I not 10x, 20x, 30x, 100x my audience? You know, and that's without blowing up on social media. You know, because even before the blow up, I was getting 5 to 10 to 20 followers a day just by constantly showing up and posting. Because it's so hard to keep showing up that people naturally gravitate towards you because you're doing something that they either want to do or they recognize that it's unbelievably difficult to do. So that over the course of days, weeks, months, years will lead you to building a big audience. You know, it's just natural. You do it through content and through showing up. So yeah, man, that's my biggest recommendation.
Thank you, Ben, so much for your time. Where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So at Life Through Optics on all of those. And yeah, just going to be sharing more of the same stuff and continuing on my journey with heaps of imposter syndrome.
Thank you so much for your time. Like, I really do appreciate you hopping on and sharing your wisdom, no matter how big or how crippling the imposter syndrome is. I think
it's crippling.
It's been so awesome to get to know you, and I can't wait to see where you take your content, and I look forward to it.
Thank you, dude. Really appreciate you having me on. Seriously.
Awesome. Be sure to follow at Life with Lamb podcast, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Awesome.
Deal.
Cheers.
Thank you. That was so good.
Done.
Oh my God.